I see you have returned back again to the archives. I perceive through the Force your interest in the One Sith philosophy and Darth Krayt. Very well. Today's lecture will be based on these very philosophies. Darth Krayt is one of the most powerful Sith Lords and Force users to have ever terrorized galactic history. Unquestionably in the top 10, perhaps even top 5 most powerful Force users to ever live. Known to many as the Dragon of the Sith, ruler of the One Sith, Emperor of the Galaxy, the Dark Man to the Skywalker family, Darth Krayt was considered one of the only Force users in galactic history that was capable of rivaling the sheer force potential and might of Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, who in his own could keep open a black hole using telekinesis and exert his will over an entire fleet of starships with little to no effort. Then again, even the mightiest of the Sith have to fall eventually. While today we are not going to be delving into how Krayt ultimately met his ends, being at its weakest, we are going to be delving into how Krayt almost was murdered, the ambiguous empowerment of the formation of the Darth Krayt was under the exertion, ideology, and will of the Yuzong Vong implants. That of Darth Bane, implants were as well as the holocrons of Andeddu and Nihilus. How Darth Krayt was nearly killed by these immensely skilled, overcome by these talented ancient
with them forming a nigh invulnerable shell of
to
heavy
start
armor
off, we have to acknowledge that this was in 137 AD attack. We have to acknowledge that Darth Krayt lived to be 188 years old, far older than even Sidious, Darth Plagueis, and many of the other notable ancient Sith, rivaling beings such as King Adas himself, the prophesied Sith Ari. Darth Krayt's Von Groats would then be over 1.5 centuries old, meaning that they would have time to expand, weigh on his mind, forcing him into stasis in order to recover, meaning every single wound that Darth Krayt was inflicted upon would be agonizingly more painful, being severely worse than it could possibly be. In order to understand these Vong implants, we have to understand the Yuzong Vong themselves. The Yuzong Vong were an extraterrestrial invasive species that, along with their empire and biological technologies, nearly succeeded in bringing the entire galaxy to its knees. The Yuzong Vong War on its own resulted in the death of over 375 trillion civilians, killing thousands of Jedi, senators, and every single being in the galaxy that adhered during the Republic. The Yuzong Vong captured Darth Krayt shortly after his ascent into the dark side, where Darth Krayt learned from the holocron of Zozan, one of the 12 founding Dark Jedi disciples and founder of the Order of Sith Lords, alongside Kana Smur, Ajunta Paul, and many others. Darth Krayt learned from Zozan, but was then delved into the unknown regions, where he was then captured by the Yuzong Vong, who experimented on him in the Embrace of Pain, along with the fallen Jedi acolyte and former Sith acolyte of Darth Sidious, Vergir, with Vergir being a weird chicken-like and bird-like species that employed various methods on Darth Krayt, encouraging him to accept his inner anger. Through this, Darth Krayt became exceptionally skilled, becoming exceptionally powerful. But how did Darth Krayt, this nigh all-powerful Sith Lord, nearly succumb to these Vong implants? Within the passage of 7 years, Emperor Krayt's grip on the throne was still uncertain. Roan Fel remained at large, and finding him was of paramount importance to the new emperor. Roan Fel was a Force-sensitive emperor and one of the first few of the galaxy had ever seen, being the supreme chancellor and head of the New Republic before Krayt instated himself as emperor, proving his superior Force superiority. He believed to have killed Roan Fel. However, this was actually revealed to be a doppelganger, very similar to Vicious, that he generated in a duel with the hero of Tython. He sent out one of his newest and most devoted hands, the vicious Darth Talon, who would later contrast and malform a relationship with the descendant of Luke Skywalker in Cade Skywalker, and a Twi'lek Sith Lord with unique red skin and tattoos very similar to a female version of Darth Maul, the Sith acolyte and apprentice of Darth Sidious, on a mission to lure Fel out into the open by capturing his only daughter, Princess Marisa Fel. Fel refused to take the bait. He had machinations of his own, scheming behind the scene. In fact, though Krayt did not know it yet, Fel had succeeded in reclaiming the historic and ancient world of Bastion, making it a staging and opportune area for the Imperial forces that he commanded, and had spent the last 7 years moving into position, little by little, using his machinations and schemes to blind Krayt and his One Sith Order, allowing even the non-Force sensitive to move silently and undetected through Darth Krayt's formerly ironclad rule. The ground was being laid for a reckoning between emperors, between the man who claimed to have had the birthright to the title and the man who had taken it from him. Krayt and Rome fell. The final battle was slowly coming. It did not help that Krayt was distracted by his own condition in an attempt to discover how he could survive being consumed by his Yuzong implants, which had been confirmed to eventually, over time, let's say Krayt lived for another 100 years, would eventually grow over his body. The Yuzong implants worked in a way that they infected every cell in a being's body, creating a shell of metallic armor that was nigh impervious and could resist even lightsaber blades. Eventually, it grasped out in powerful spikes, dominating the mind of the individual. Krayt's mind would utterly be dominated if he had not been so strong in the Force and so ironclad willed as he had been now. Eventually, all beings must succumb to this, though. The Vong implants were impervious and could not be taken out of his body or surgically removed without severe damage to Krayt. And even then, the treachery of the Sith philosophy scared Krayt. If he was vulnerable even for a moment, his most faithful lieutenant, even beings such as Darth Wylock, Darth Talon, and Darth Nihil, would turn on him instantly, viewing him as weak and seeing him exposed to such agonizing and excruciating pain. Krayt ventured to Korriban, the ancient homeworld of the Sith reclaimed by Darth Malgus 3 millennia prior, in an attempt to learn from the past Sith Lords on how to avoid this fate. With the Yuzong Vong slowly growing over his entire body, Krayt activated the holocrons using Force Lightning of all 3 Sith Lords, Darth Bane, the founder of the Rule of Two and newest Sith Ari, Darth Andeddu, the man who pioneered essence transfer, and Darth Nihilus, widely regarded as one of the most powerful Sith of all time and the Lord of Hunger, and asked for these holocrons, inquiring how he could overcome the limitations of his armor, or at least keep it at bay for a time to come up with a pure cure, believing the ancient Sith Lord would believe in their descendants, allowing him access to knowledge that would be previously unheard of, due to the loss of knowledge after Vitia's death. The ancient Sith Lord Helvador, Bane lambasted and mocked Krayt for not adhering to the Rule of Two, blaming all of his problems on the Rule of One philosophy, meaning that his grip of power was not as ironclad. He had to have only 2 Sith Lords, one with the power and one to crave it. Nihilus merely gave a small statement in his particular dialect, which neither Bane or decided to translate, meaning it was most likely offensive and incredibly harsh, just like Nihilus, with Nihilus uttering an ancient Sith. Mainly he had comprehensive knowledge of the ancient Sith dialogue that the purebloods used on Korriban thousands of years ago. Andeddu caused Krayt's armor to consume him, unlocking illusions after mocking him, transforming him into a very creature-like, much like his namesake, like the Krayt dragon. Cackling maniacally, the Sith avatars taunted him with what they said was his destiny, his inevitable death at the hands of his own armor. 3 ancient Sith Lords, declaring Krayt to be nothing but an impostor, and to order a mockery of the Sith, taunted and laughed as Krayt's fear nearly overcame him, but Krayt, using his ironclad will, refused to accept it. He saw that the Yuzong implants would eventually overtake him, and he needed to be reborn. He needed to find a cure, but he was not going to lose his grip on power now, not while there was still life left in his body. He was not going to become a hulking-like beast, a mindless entity of the dark side of the Force that merely threw himself with his nigh invulnerable armor at troopers. No, he was the Dark Lord of the Sith. He takes what he desires. This was not his truth. It was not his destiny. He forges his own way. He walked a new path. And if they would not serve him, they would be silenced. In this outburst, he was able to focus his pure, unwavering fury and anger to the point he was able to reverse the effects of Andeddu's wizardry and illusions, with Andeddu being one of the greatest Sith sorcerers, alchemists, and illusionists ever created, and was one of the pioneers of many ancient darkside tomes, techniques, and illusions, and was one of the oldest long-lived Sith Lords ever, alongside Karnus Mur, living for only 6 millennia. He was determined that if he could get no help from the ancient Sith, that he would scour to other teachings another way. Again, he was directed on a path that would likely lead to Cade Skywalker, the only being in the galaxy that had the Force ability of dark transfer, that was able to resurrect the dead, bringing them back to life. Well, my friends, what did you think of this video? Did you enjoy this installment into the Darth Krayt series that we have been slowly uncovering? Darth Krayt is truly one of my favourite characters in all of Star Wars Legends. As a very intriguing and interesting Sith Lord, Darth Krayt nearly succeeded in dominating the galaxy. But like all Sith, except for perhaps Palpatine and Vitiate, he stopped short. Even the most powerful Force users had to fall to someone, and this was how Krayt met Darth Bane and almost was murdered by the forger and pioneerer of the Rule of Two. Goodbye, my acolytes. This is where we part ways. Be sure to visit the archives once again if you wish to learn more about this intriguing characters. We are currently trying to forge more lore compilations and videos so we can update daily. But due to the fact we have other YouTube channels such as the Harry Potter channel and the Lord of the Rings channel, it is becoming increasingly more difficult for us to continuously upload. Farewell, my friends. I'll see you in a galaxy far, far away. And remember, kneel before the dragon of Zakul.